I wanted to make a video for an entry-level candidate or someone coming into recruitment. How can you ace your interview? So usually when these entry-level interviews are either 2 to 3 stages. First stage is usually done over Microsoft Teams. Second stage is you'll come in and meet some people, and then sometimes have a third stage, maybe you meet the CEO. But yeah, 2 to 3 stages is usually the amount of interviews these recruitment companies do for entry level. Now, there are some key sort of rules or just basics, and this isn't just with recruitment, this is just anything. You know, don't be late. It's just so simple. You know, turn up. If you're going into the office or something, try and get into the, if you're going into the city, whatever, try and turn up like half an hour early. Go get a coffee, get a cup of tea, get something to eat or something beforehand. But just, we've had it so many times. People are just late. I had someone who was 2 hours late for their interview, and they lived 45 minutes away. They left the house late. So just make sure you're on time, because if you're late at an entry level, these companies are trying to find any reason not to hire you. Don't give them a reason as the first thing you do by being late. So that would be number one. Number two, do some research on the company you are meeting. When I say do some research, do a lot of research. It's the easiest way to show if someone gives a shit is just by having them, just by then coming to the interview, going, right, I know that you recruit in this. These are the type of jobs you recruit. This is how many people you have. These are your company values. These are ththings to talk about, and it shows that you've cared enough to turn up for an interview and actually do the research. We've had people walk into interviews, and the client goes, do you know what we do? And they go like that. And it's like, do you know what I mean? Come on, just know what they do, the type of roles they recruit. You have to do anything to make yourself look good. So yeah, just make sure you do some research on the company that you're meeting. Turn up, have a smile, have some energy, have a strong handshake. Little things like that make all the difference. When you're shaking hands with them, look them in the eye. Come along with some confidence. Little things like that. Don't swear in your interviews. I think this could be one thing, like people get a little bit too familiar, especially if you get to the second and third stage and you've got on with the person, they get a little bit too familiar, start calling them mate, and I don't know, start swearing, dropping F-bombs and that sort of thing. Like, I've been guilty of it myself. Just don't do it. Stay as professional as possible. Obviously, you want to give a piece of yourself, and you want to get on with people and build rapport and that sort of things. But yeah, don't start effing and blinding in the middle of interviews. Bring a notepad with some questions on, and I'll go into the questions a little bit later, but I think those would be the main things. Those are like 5 main rules of just basic interviewing. That's just obviously recruitment, but in general as well. So I'd say the biggest thing that you need to think about, and I brought this up in one of my last videos actually, the biggest thing you need to be or concerned about or thinking about as you go in an interview, and this is what they're going to be judging you on, is why you want to do recruitment. The reason this is so important is because at an entry level, I think 1 in 4 people make it past their first year. So 1 in 4 people that get a job, they'll make it past their first year in recruitment. And so for the company's point of view, that is a lot of burnt money, wasted training as well. And so they want to make sure that people bringing in, that in their opinion, they're going to have the best chance or going to be the best person to succeed. So what does that comes back to is why they want to do recruitment. Now, there are lots of reasons someone would want to do recruitment. It could be financial, the career progression side of it, the competitive side of it. There are lots of different reasons. I think those would probably be like the main 3. But if you're going to say, yeah, I want money, or yeah, I want career progression, why? What's the reason behind that? If you want money, everyone wants money. I don't know anyone that doesn't want to be rich. There might be a few, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Anyone I know obviously wants money. But 95% of people aren't willing to put in the work it takes to earn that money, or it takes to get that career progression. So it could be anything, right? Money might come from, you might come from a really, high performing family and they're really rich, and that high performance has been pushed onto you. So that that'd be a good reason. Some people come from the other side of it. Maybe they weren't so rich growing up, and then they want a better life for themselves. Some people want the competitive edge because they've always been competitive, whether that be in sports or at school, or jobs they've had before and just general sales jobs, and they want to bring that competitive side into recruitment. They want to be top of the leaderboard. They want to be top of number one in their company and that sort of thing. So it just and if it isn't money or it isn't career progression, don't say it. Don't just say things for the sake of saying things. Be as genuine, be fully, I was about to say as genuine as possible. No, just be fully genuine in these interviews for your reason, because they will see through if you're trying to lie about something. We speak to a lot of people and they're like, oh yeah, I want money. It's like, why do you want money? Oh, because I want to pay off my mum's mortgage. And it's like, obviously that's lovely. I don't know anyone that's paid off their family's mortgage. Do you know what I mean? And I get it's a nice incentive and everyone wants to help their family, but this has to be about you. Why do you want to do recruitment? Because especially for the first 4 years of your career, I highly doubt you're going to be able to pay off your mum's mortgage or your family's mortgage. So it's just something to think about. Make it about you. Don't make it about other people. Why do you want to do recruitment? And what's the driving factors behind that? I think that is just the key thing going into these interviews, especially recruitment. What is your reason and the genuine reasons behind it? Don't say surface level things. What is the reason behind that? Some people just want to earn a bit of money. That's fine. Just say it. You don't have to be a fake reason. Sometimes you just want to. I'll give you an example. I've got no qualifications, haven't got any A levels. What else was I going to do? I had no other option. I had to do sales, or I wasn't going to make any money. And that came along in the interview. This is it for me. If this doesn't work out, I don't know what I'm going to do. I need to do sales because I need to make money, because I want to make money to have a nice life. And I don't have any qualifications. What else am I going to do? So, just make sure it's genuine coming through. You've got to think about why you're going to be successful in recruitment. What characteristics do you have? Is that drive? Where's your? It's little things like ambition, drive, hard work. But again, give examples of this in your interview. Don't just say, "Oh, I work hard," and then you got a third in your degree and you never worked throughout your time at university. So you probably wouldn't go down that route, right? You got to think about it and make it make sense, because. Yeah, if you're going to say things, people want proof of that. So if you're going to say work hard, oh yeah, I've worked my arse off, I got a 2-1. I worked all the way through university. I stayed at the same job. If you're going to talk about resilience and things like that, so resilience is a massive characteristic in recruitment. Talk about times you've been resilient, whether that be in personal life, in your professional life. I think that's a big point as well. I think in these interviews, don't be afraid to give of to give a piece of yourself to these companies. And what I mean by that is, there are events in people's lives that makes their outlook change, and it makes their drivers a certain way. Don't be afraid to tell them about a hard time when you're even if it's in your personal life, whether it's family or something like that. Don't be afraid to give them that information. I think some people are a bit standoffish, like, oh, why would they want to know that? Like, they don't know about, a time that I was just, I had, a hardship in life or something like that. Absolutely tell them that. Give them a piece of yourself. It gives, first of all, it makes them trust you. And these are the important bits in life that make a person. There are things in people's lives that make them go, shit, I need to do this, I need to do this. People wake up a little bit. So absolutely do not be afraid to give a piece of yourself to the reason, why you think you'd be good at the job or why you want to do the job. If it's personal and not just professional, that's fine. Tell them. You don't have to make a big deal out of it, but just make it, that could be the difference between you getting a job and you not getting a job. Talk about your accomplishments. People love accomplishments in recruitment because it shows that you've gone out your way to do something, you've worked hard at something to achieve your goal, whether that be sports, education, things outside of work that you do. You might be a professional, checkers player, but it takes work, it takes time to get to a point where you're, a good competitive checkers player. And so it just shows your hard work and determination and drive. anything you've done in your life that shows that, you want to be able to tell them, because that's what they want to know. You know, you can make that into a story. I think having a narrative for what got you to the point that you wanted to do recruitment is really good. I think that goes back, I know I'm kind of jumping around here, it goes back to what I was saying earlier, why recruitment. Have a narrative and have a story about what's got you from the point to doing what you're doing to now wanting to do recruitment. And I know this whole thing, it seems quite deep, right? It's like, oh, I just want to get a job in recruitment. But that's not how it works. You need to be as prepared as possible, especially the high level good recruitment companies. It is so hard to get a job, so hard. So you've got to make sure you're as prepared as possible. And obviously that's my job to help you, but then it's also your job to make sure that you spend your own time coming up with this narrative and story for what's got you here. And the stories that you do tell about resilience and hard work, have those replayed in your head so you know exactly what you're going to say when these questions are asked. This is a bit more of a difficult one, right? I think it's something to think about. You've got to think about why you want to work at that company. I'm a bit debated about this. Some companies go, why do you want to work here? And it's like your first interview, you don't know like why they're meant to be telling you that. But I think just having an idea around why you've chosen the industry, maybe the company size, what you've heard about their training, what you've heard about, the success of consultants there. I think that's come into. I think, I'm a bit offish when companies go, why do you want to work here? Because if especially it's your first interview, it's like, well, you tell me. But obviously I can relay a lot of that information onto you, and we can talk about why you want to work there. But I think the last thing we have to think about is questions. This is massive. My advice is write down as many questions as possible on a notepad and bring that notepad to the interview. As you start talking to the person interviewing you and that sort of stuff, a lot of these questions are going to be able to be crossed off, but you want a shitload of questions at the end for you to ask. Questions show you're interested. Asking questions about the business, growth plans, how was COVID? Have they got plans to move into any new markets? What's the training like? That sort of thing. But what's also good, you want to ask questions about the person that you're interviewing. Why did they get into recruitment? Why are they working here? You have to understand, people love talking about themselves, especially recruitment managers. They love talking about themselves. And it's one of those psychological things. If you ask people questions about themselves, they will end up actually liking you more for that reason. You could just spend the whole interview asking questions about themselves and what's so good about them, why have they managed to be so successful in recruitment, and they'll finish that interview going, I really liked him, and you haven't had to say a thing. So I think that's massive. Ask loads of questions about the business, about them, about the role, high performers. And if you're meeting multiple different people in this interview, ask everyone questions. Don't get to the point where you finish with someone, they go, have you got any questions? You go, no, because it just makes you look terrible, and people want the chance to answer your questions. People look forward to that. Don't ever, because it's almost like for them, why has he got no questions? How has he got to the end of my chat with me? I've got no questions about anything. It just makes you look bad. So even if you're asking the same questions to other people, people are going to have a different point of view, a different perception. So make sure you've got questions for absolutely everyone. You can do questions about the market that specific manager does. If you've done enough research and about the people you're going to meet, you can know this guy looks after, software engineering, this guy looks after DevOps. Ask him about the DevOps market. Ask them about the software engineering market. How does that work? How's the team performing? Where do you think I'd sit within this team? Just ask everyone lots of questions and ask important questions. Things that actually matter to you. Don't ask questions for the sake of asking questions. Things that matter. Things about them. Culture, that sort of thing. How do you describe the culture? So that's massive. As I said, get a list, get a pen and paper. Write down shitloads of questions. And as I said, you'll get a lot of them crossed off, but make sure you ask everyone lots of questions. That is key. And then I think it comes down to closing off the interview. I think with this, But you can go around it two ways. I used to do it I used to go, how do you think this interview went? And some people like that, some people don't, because it's a little bit awkward. You can do it off I think that's a decision you make, but make sure you close off the interview. Say, and only if it's genuine, right? If you did enjoy the chat and you enjoy the company, look, you go, yeah, I really enjoyed this chat. I'd be very keen on coming back in. If there's any concerns or anything, please let me know, and I can try and address them. Or you can I think it's a good idea to do that in the interview. Are there any concerns or anything like that, just around my experience or how I came across? Because instead of them going to me, oh, we were concerned about this, just deal with it at that time. And then you're going to have a better opportunity of getting through to that second round or getting that offer or whatever that looks like. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it about, how to ace an interview. If you've got any questions or anything like that, give me a call, send me an email. That's pretty much it. But yeah.